Okay, boys and girls, we are reading Katie Kazoo, Switcheroo, Tip, Top, Tappin, Mom. We're on chapter 7. But dinner time was just as noisy as the afternoon had been. First, Katie's mom tapped from the oven to the table with the vegetarian lasagna. Then she twirled from the refrigerator to the table with the milk. Finally, she shuffle-stepped from the counter to the table with the chocolate cake. "This dinner sure was tip-top," Mr. Carew told Katie's mom. "Tip-top tap," Katie joked. Katie's mom curtsied. "Thank you, my adoring fans," she joked. After dinner, Katie and her dad went upstairs to look at this special geography book. "I really want to do well in the geography bee," Katie told her dad. "Maybe I'll even win." "You can try," Mr. Carew answered, "and this will definitely help." Katie's dad pulled a big black binder from the top of a bookshelf. He opened it to a page in the middle. Katie looked at the book. She was a little confused. "Stickers?" she asked. "How can a sticker book help me win the geography bee?" Mr. Carew shook his head. "Look closer," he said. "They're not stickers, they're stamps." "They're not like any stamps I've ever seen," Katie told him. "That's because they're from different countries," her dad explained. "See that one with the ballerina painting on it? It's from France. The colorful one with the horse and carriage is from China. And the one in the corner with Noah's Ark is from Israel." "This is so cool," Katie exclaimed. "I didn't know you collected stamps." "I started when I was about your age," her dad told her. "It's a lot of fun. I used to imagine I lived in all these different places." "What's that red one with a boat on it from?" Katie asked. Mr. Carew looked closely at the stamp. "New Guinea," he said. "Where's that?" Katie asked him. "I'll show you," her dad answered. He turned the page and showed Katie a map of the world. There were stamps all over the map. "I tried to put the stamps on the countries they came from." He pointed to an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. "See, there's another copy on that stamp, and that's where New Guinea is." "This is great," Katie said. Mr. Carew nodded. "You can look at it for as long as you like," he told Katie. "I have a lot of other albums too. Just be careful, a lot of these stamps are kind of old." "You can count on me, Dad," Katie told him. "I won't let anything happen to your stamps. I promise." Chapter 8. A few days later, Katie and Emma W. went to the Cherrydale Mall after school. Katie's mom was the manager of the Book Nook bookstore. Katie had been coming to the mall since she was a little kid. Nearly everyone who worked there knew her. "You want to go have a pizza at Louie's?" Katie asked Emma W. "I can ask him to make my favorite veggie pizza." "Yum!" Emma W. exclaimed. "We can study our geography flashcards while we eat. I want to go over the Asian countries again." Katie walked to the front of the bookstore where her mom was hanging a poster on the wall. "We're going to Louie's for some pizza and studying," Katie told her mom. "Great idea," Mrs. Carew said. She stepped back and looked at her poster. "Does that look straight to you?" she asked the girls. Emma W. nodded. "What is a tap-off?" she asked, reading the poster. "It's an event that Miss Ricky's dance school is having," Katie's mom explained. "We're trying to get as many people as we can to tap dance in the parking lot outside the mall. Our goal is to break a record for the most people tap dancing at one time." "Why are you doing that?" Katie asked her. "Miss Ricky wants to get people interested in tap dancing," her mother explained. "Hopefully newspaper and TV reporters will come and do stories about the tap-off. Then people will want to take lessons." "Cool," Emma W. said. "Can I be one of the dancers? I mean, I've never taken tap dancing, but—" "Of course you can dance with us. Miss Ricky is going to teach the routine to everyone," Katie's mom told Emma W. "Also, a few of the dancers from Miss Ricky's school will be at the front of the crowd. You can watch them and follow what they do. I'm trying out to be one of those dancers." "Cool, you could be on TV," Katie said. "If I'm chosen," her mom replied. "I hope I'm good enough." "I'm sure you are," Emma W. told her. "Katie says all you do is practice tap dancing." Mrs. Carew gave Katie a funny look, but she didn't say anything. "Are you ready to go to Louie's now?" Katie asked Emma W. "Sure," Emma W. told her. "Goodbye, Mrs. Carew." "Bye, Emma," Mrs. Carew answered. "I'll see you at the tap-off." "You sure will," Emma W. said. "Bye, Mom," Katie said. "See you later, Katie," Mrs. Carew called after her. As the girls walked out of the store, Emma W. asked Katie, "Are you going to dance in the tap-off?" Katie shook her head. "I don't think so." "Don't you think it's great that your mom is going to audition to be one of the dancers who gets to be on TV?" Emma W. asked. "No," Katie said. "Why?" Emma W. wondered. "Because that's going to mean I'll have to hear a lot more tap-tap-tapping," Katie told her. A few minutes later, Katie and Emma W. were sitting in a booth at Louie's Pizza Shop. They were sipping orange sodas and waiting for their veggie pizza with extra broccoli. Emma W. held up a flashcard. "The Yellow River is on which continent?" she asked. "That's easy," Katie said. "Asia. It's in China." "Exactly right," Emma W. told her. Now it was Katie's turn to hold up a flashcard. "Fiji is an island in which ocean?" "The Pacific Ocean," Emma W. answered. "You got it," Katie exclaimed. "My dad has the coolest stamp from Fiji. It has pretty yellow mushrooms on it." Just then, Suzanne and her mom walked into Louie's. Suzanne was carrying a lot of shopping bags. Her mom looked very tired. "Wow, you've been busy," Katie said to Suzanne. "I'm studying," Suzanne explained. Katie and Emma W. looked at her strangely. "How is shopping studying?" Emma W. wondered. Suzanne pulled a pink cap out of one bag. "This would keep me warm in Antarctica, which is near the South Pole." Katie doubted a little cotton cap would be much help in Antarctica, but she didn't say anything. Suzanne held up a bathing suit next. "If I were in the Amazon rainforest where it's very hot, I'd need this." "It's actually for Suzanne to wear this summer," Mrs. Locke told Katie and Emma W. Suzanne scowled at her mom. "Right now it's for studying," she insisted. "I've been studying hard for the geography bee. I'm planning on winning." "So are we," Katie told Suzanne. "In fact, we're studying right now." Suzanne looked around. "Where are your packages?" she asked. Katie and Emma W. started to laugh. "Only you could turn a geography bee into a fashion show, Suzanne," Katie said. Just then, Louie brought the veggie pizza over to the table. Katie and Emma W. offered Suzanne and her mother a slice. Suzanne folded her slice in half and started to take a bite. A big glob of tomato-covered cheese fell on her shirt. "Oh, no," Suzanne moaned. "Don't worry, Suzanne," Katie said. "Pizza is from Italy. Now you have an Italian shirt. It's studying." Suzanne gave Katie a funny look. Then she smiled. "You're right. And Italy is a country that's shaped like a boot. Boots are in fashion these days." "I wonder if that will be a question in the geography bee," Emma W. teased. "If it is, I'm ready," Suzanne exclaimed happily as she took a big bite of her Italian pizza. Chapter 9. Tap, Shuffle, Stomp. That was pretty much all Katie heard for the next few days as her mom practiced for her big audition. It was kind of annoying, but Katie had to admit that her mom was becoming a really good dancer. "You're definitely going to be picked to be in front at the tap-off," Katie told her mom as the two of them walked into the studio on Saturday for the audition. "I hope so," Mrs. Crew replied. "I've been practicing very hard. I think I have the whole routine memorized." Katie was sure her mom had the routine memorized. After seeing it over and over again, Katie practically had the whole thing memorized. "I'm so glad you came with me today," Katie's mom continued. "It will help me a lot to see you sitting there." Katie tried to smile. She was glad she could be there to support her mom, but part of her also really wished she didn't have to see or hear any more tap dancing. Katie followed her mother into a large dance studio. "You can sit over there," Katie's mom said, pointing to a row of chairs. "I'm going to warm up." Katie sat down in one of the chairs and watched the dancers stretch their arms and legs. But after a few minutes, Katie got a little squirmy. She got up to walk around a bit. Actually, Miss Ricky's School of Dance was kind of a neat place. There were lots of studios, but everyone was in the big studio where the auditions were being held. Katie wandered into one of the smaller studios. It was empty. She looked at herself in the mirror. She pointed her toe. Then she tapped her foot and twirled around. It was hard not to dance in a room like this, but Katie was glad no one was there to see her. She was definitely not as good a dancer as her mom was. Just then, Katie felt a cool breeze blowing on the back of her neck. That was weird. There were no windows in the studio, and the fan wasn't turned on. Where was the breeze coming from? The breeze turned into a wind and began blowing colder and harder until it was like a wild tornado, a tornado that was spinning only around Katie. Oh no! This wasn't an ordinary wind. It was the magic wind, and boy was it blowing. The wind was so fierce Katie was afraid it might blow her all the way to the continent of Asia or even Antarctica. Katie shut her eyes tight and tried not to cry. And then it stopped, just like that. The magic wind was gone. So was Katie Kazoo. She'd been turned into someone else. 1, 2, switcheroo. The question was, who? Katie stood there a minute with her eyes shut. All around her, she heard the tap, tap, tapping of dancers in tap shoes. That was weird. A moment ago, she was alone in the little studio. The magic wind had blown her back into the big studio. As she opened her eyes, Katie saw lots of dancers all around her. The only one she didn't see was her mom. At least not at first. But as she turned around, Katie spotted her mom's reflection in the mirror. Mrs. Carew seemed to be standing in the middle of the room with a confused look on her face. Katie tried to smile in her mom's direction to make her feel more confident. Her mom gave Katie the exact smile. Katie waved at her mom in the mirror. Her mom waved to Katie at the exact same time. Katie looked down at her feet. She was wearing tap shoes. Tap, tap, shuffle. Katie moved her feet back and forth. Tap, tap, shuffle. The mom in the mirror moved her feet back and forth. Uh-oh, that could only mean one thing. Katie had turned into her mom right before the big audition. Katie had to get out of there, right away. She turned and started to run out of the studio. The heels on her tap shoes went clickety-clack as she ran, but it was too late. Okay, dancers, Miss Ricky announced. It's time to start the auditions. First on our list is Wendy Carew. Katie gulped. This was so not good. Chapter 10. Katie wanted to run and hide somewhere until the magic wind came to turn her back into a 4th grade girl, but she knew she couldn't do that. Not now. Her mother had been practicing all week for this audition. Katie had to at least try to help her out. So Katie took her place in the middle of the dance floor. She stood tall as Miss Ricky put the CD in the player, and then the music started. Katie knew the song right away. It was an old tune called That's Entertainment. Her mom had played it over and over as she practiced. Toe, heel, ball change, Katie whispered to herself as she moved her feet the way she'd seen her mother do it. Hop, toe, stomp. Katie smiled. She was really getting the feel of it, and so far the routine was going okay. She even thought she saw Miss Ricky smile back at her. Ball change, heel, toe, spin. Katie began to spin around the way she'd seen her mother twirl in the kitchen. She tapped her toes a little faster as she turned, keeping in time with the music. Heel, toe, spin. Whoa! Suddenly, Katie started to feel dizzy. She stopped spinning, but the room didn't. Everything seemed to be turning around and around, even though Katie was standing still. Katie tried to keep dancing. She moved across the dance floor, tapping her feet, but the room kept spinning. Whoops! Katie tripped over her right foot. She fell right on her rear end. At first, no one said anything. Then a few of the dancers began to giggle, quietly, like they were trying not to hurt Katie's feelings. But Katie heard them, and her feelings were hurt. She was really embarrassed. Are you okay, Wendy? Miss Ricky asked her. Wendy? Katie had almost forgotten that she wasn't Katie anymore. She was her mom. That made things even worse. Tears began streaming down Katie's face. She had to get out of the awful dance studio right away. I'm fine, Katie sobbed as she ran out of the room. A moment later, Katie was sitting all by herself on the floor of one of the empty studios. I sure made a mess of things this time, Katie whispered sadly to herself. Just then, Katie felt a cool breeze blowing on the back of her neck, and before she even had a chance to look for an open window or a fan, the breeze grew into a strong wind. A second later, it was a tornado that was blowing just around Katie. The magic wind had returned. The wind began to spin faster and faster. It whirled around Katie so powerfully she was sure it would blow her away. And then it stopped. Just like that, Katie Kazoo was back. So was her mom. And boy, did she look confused. How did I get into this room? Katie's mom asked. You came in here after you, Katie began. She wasn't really sure what to say. Mrs. Carew rubbed her rear end. I'm really sore, she complained. I feel like I fell on my... She stopped for a minute. I did fall, didn't I? Katie nodded. Wow, Mrs. Carew continued. I kind of remember getting dizzy out there after my spin, but it's all sort of fuzzy. You started out really great, Katie assured her. That audition was a disaster, Mrs. Carew told Katie. She frowned sadly. I think maybe it's time for me to find a new hobby. Now Katie felt really awful. You can't stop dancing, she told her mom. Mrs. Crew smiled at Katie. I know you wanted me to have fun with my gift, she said, and I did, but I'm just not a very good dancer anymore. Yes, you are, Katie told her. I just started to spin too fast. You what? Her mom asked. Oops. I mean, you were just spinning fast, Katie corrected herself. That's why you got dizzy. Katie's mother sighed and shook her head. Come on, she said. Let's go home. I need to get out of this place. Chapter 11. The next day it was very quiet at Katie's house. There was no tapping, stomping, or clapping. It was the perfect place to study. That made Katie very sad. Your mom's not going to dance at all anymore? Emma W. asked her. She and George had come over to look at some of Katie's dad's stamp albums. Katie shook her head. Mom put the tap shoes away. She says she's looking for a new hobby. She should try archery, George suggested. That's my dad's hobby. He's teaching me how to shoot arrows now. That's really cool, Emma W. said. Archery is an Olympic sport, George said. The Olympics started in Greece, Emma W. told him. And Greece is located in what sea? The Mediterranean, George exclaimed happily. You got it, Emma W. said with a smile. Katie wished she could be as interested as her friends were in geography, but right now all she could think about was how her mom had stopped dancing and how it had all been Katie's fault. I have to get going, Emma W. said. I promised my mom I'd be home early today. I guess I should go home too, George said. But this has been great. Those stamps really make studying geography fun. You should bring one of your dad's stamp albums to school tomorrow, then everyone in our class can study with it. I don't know, Katie began. It would totally give our class an advantage over 4B, Katie Kazoo, George said. That stamp album would be our secret weapon. Katie thought about it. I guess I could bring one album, she said, but just for tomorrow. Bring the one with the stamps from South America, Emma W. suggested. She slipped on a little pink sweater. That's pretty, Katie told her. Thanks, Emma W. replied. My mom and I made it together. She's teaching me how to knit. Cool, Katie said. It's fun, Emma W. said, and it's something special I do with my mom. She doesn't knit with anyone else, not my sister Lacey or any of my brothers. Katie knew that must make Emma W. really happy. With so many kids in her house, it was hard for Emma W. to get special time with her mom. Suddenly, a big smile flashed on Katie's face. Hooray! Katie Kazoo had just gotten one of her great ideas. Tap, tap, shuffle. The next morning, Katie danced her way into Class 4A. What are you doing? Emma W. asked her. Tap dancing, Katie explained. My mom is teaching me. I thought you said your mom wasn't taking tap dancing lessons anymore, Emma W. said. She isn't, Katie said, but I asked her if she could teach me to dance. I thought it could be our special hobby, like the way you and your mom knit and George and his dad do archery. Cool, Emma W. said. My mom taught me a few steps, Katie said. We might even make up a dance together. Tap dancing is fun. Are you going to be in the tap-off, Emma? Emma W. asked her. Katie shrugged. My mom still doesn't want to, but maybe she'll change her mind. Just then, George walked over to where Emma and Katie were sitting. Did you bring the secret weapon? He asked her. Katie patted her backpack. It's right here. We have to be careful with it. My dad would be really upset if anything happened to his stamps. George smiled. The stamp album will be fine, he said. What could happen? Chapter 12. Katie could lose the stamp album? That was what could happen. This is so not good, Katie told a group of her friends during lunch. I promised my dad that I wouldn't let anything happen to any of his stamps, and now I've lost a whole book of them. Calm down, Emma W. said. They couldn't have just disappeared. When did you have them last? I don't remember, Emma told her. Katie, I had them in the classroom early this morning, and you and I were looking at them in the library, but after that, I'm not sure. Well, you'll just have to go everywhere you went today and look for them, George said. But I was all over the school, Katie said. The library, the gym, our classroom. I was in the bathroom, too, twice. Kevin took out a piece of paper and a pen. What are you doing? Katie asked him. I'm drawing a map of the school, Kevin explained. We'll follow the map and look for the book during recess. But recess is so short, Katie said. We won't have time to search the whole school. That's okay, Kevin said. I'm splitting the map into 4 parts. I'll look in the north part of the school. George will look in the south. Emma will look in the east, and you can look west. School geography, George exclaimed. This will be fun, Emma W. added. Katie sighed. She didn't care if school geography was fun. She just wanted it to work. Right after the kids finished their lunch, they started their search. Katie raced to the west side of the school. First, she stopped in the girls' room where she'd gone just before gym. She searched all the stalls, but the stamp album wasn't there. Then she ran into the gym where Class 4A had played Class 4B and basketball and lost. No, the stamp album wasn't there either. Finally, Katie went into the library. That was the last place she actually remembered looking at the stamp album. Hi, Katie, Miss Folio, the school librarian, greeted her. Have you come to spend recess in the library? Katie shook her head. I'm looking for my dad's stamp album. Have you seen it? No, Miss Folio said. Are you sure you had it in here? Yes, Katie assured her. Emma and I were looking at it at the table near the window. Miss Folio thought for a minute. Mr. Keaton's first grade class was in here right after your class left. Maybe one of the first graders saw it. Do you think Mr. Keaton would let me ask the kids if they did? Katie asked. It's very important. My dad will be so upset if I don't get his stamps back. I'm sure Mr. Keaton will let you look for the stamp album. Miss Folio looked up at the clock. The first grade is having a snack now. They should be in their classroom. Thanks, Miss Folio, Katie said as she dashed out of the library and ran farther west down the hall to Mr. Keaton's room. The first graders were having crackers and milk when Katie knocked on Mr. Keaton's door. Katie, Mr. Keaton greeted her. What a surprise! Why aren't you on the playground with the other fourth graders? I lost something important, Katie told him. I'm spending recess looking for it. Miss Folio said one of your kids might have seen it. What did you lose? Mr. Keaton asked. My dad's stamp album, Katie told him. It's a black binder filled with pages of stamps. Did any of you see a black binder? Mr. Keaton asked his class. A small girl with a head of blonde curls raised her hand shyly. I found a binder in the library. She pulled it out of her desk. That's it, Katie exclaimed happily. This binder has lots of stickers, the little girl said. That's what I thought at first too, Katie said, but they're really stamps from other countries. Katie showed the little girl a few of the stamps. Then she took the binder, thanked Mr. Keaton, and raced off to tell her friends that she'd found the album. Tap, tap, tap. Katie was so happy she danced the whole way. Chapter 13. Katie was still tapping on Saturday morning when she and her mother arrived at the Cherrydale Mall for the big tap-off. Mrs. Carew, Emma W. exclaimed when she saw them. I thought you weren't going to dance in the tap-off. Katie's mom shrugged. I guess I realized that the tap-off is about showing people how great tap dancing is, not about being in the front of the crowd. My mom's here with me, Emma W. told Katie and her mom, and Lacey. Katie was surprised to see Emma W.'s teenage sister. She hardly ever did anything with Emma W. Hi, Wendy, Mrs. Weber greeted Katie's mom. Emma told us about this, and we just had to come. Tap dancing sounds like such a fun mother-daughter thing to do. It is, Katie's mom assured her. In fact, Katie and I have been talking to Miss Ricky about starting a mother-daughter class. We would definitely sign up, Mrs. Weber replied. I could use the exercise, and it would be fun for the girls. I'm so glad you didn't give up on tap dancing, Mrs. Carew, Emma W. said. I have Katie to thank for that, Katie's mom said. She convinced me to stick with it, and with some hard work, I'm going to get better and better. Hard work always pays off, Katie said. That's how Emma won our geography bee yesterday. Congratulations, Emma, Mrs. Carew said. You should have seen how mad Suzanne was that someone from 4B didn't win, Katie told her mom. She almost popped a button on her lederhosen. Lederhosen? Mrs. Carew asked. You know, those leather shorts kids wear in Germany, Emma W. explained. Suzanne was wearing them to help her study Europe. Mrs. Carew giggled. Suzanne is one of a kind, she said. Just then, loud music began blaring through the parking lot. Let's dance, Mrs. Carew cheered. Toe, heel, ball change, spin. As she swirled around, Katie grinned happily. Despite everything, Katie's mom was still dancing and having a great time, and so was Katie. Take that, magic wind. A world of record breakers. Katie and her friends are really world-class geography experts. Now they're sharing a whole world of fun facts with you. The world's highest mountain is Mount Everest. At its highest point, the mountain is more than 29,000 feet above sea level. The lowest spot on land is the Dead Sea in Israel. It's located over 1,300 feet below sea level. The largest ocean is the Pacific Ocean, which covers about 30% of the planet. It covers more than 60 million square miles. The smallest ocean is the Arctic Ocean. It covers less than 6 million square miles of the planet. That is only about 3% of the Earth's surface. Australia is the world's smallest continent. It's almost 3 million square miles, which is actually smaller than the country of Brazil. The world's largest continent is Asia. More than 3 billion people live there. Katie, Kazoo, Switcheroo. If you want to take an AR test on this, you'll need to type tip top Tappin mom. I don't have the number for you, sorry. Actually, I will put it in the link that I send to your parents with this video. Have a fabulous day. Bye.